Hi guys, welcome back to my cave. This is Diana with Creativity Inc. And today in the cave we're going to work on something very economical, on my opinion. A lot of these items are recycled. These are packages. This book that I got for free at the flea market, and the straws. Those are the bending ones, the ones that have a little bending in the corner, sort of like adjustable kind of thing. So my idea came because we visited the airplane museum, Air and Space Museum, close to my house, and so I wanted to make some kind of a journal inspired on that. So I have different packaging, and you guys will be able to tell a little bit later, but I go back and forth a lot with this because at first I thought that this packaging was perfect when I had it in my head, but now that I'm putting it together, it's like it's too big. I don't want it to be the main focal point. So you see me talking to myself, to my invisible friend, looking different options and different things. The one thing I did buy, I bought before. I didn't buy it for this project per se, but I did have just purchased it at least recently. These little like jewelry containers. I got the whole box with all the little jewelry containers at the 99-cent store, which I had never seen before, but I thought it was just such a great deal. So I picked up a couple of them, and I thought about making those little what are they called? Little like gauges. I was gonna say gouges, but it's gauges. And I wanted to do the little round ones, and I wanted to make a big one on this square, but like I said, I thought it was too big. So after a lot of going back and forth and changing the idea, the plan, changing the packaging, because I do use different packaging. This is the lid of the little containers of the little containers, or the container of the little containers. I don't know, you guys know what I mean. So after 1,000,001 ideas, I came up with, drum roll, this. I had a little tube, and I cut out I did stay with one of the packagings, and at one of the little holes for the gauges, I went in, I spray painted black. I used one of those I think it's Rust-Oleum, and shiny black. I like shiny black because it doesn't come off, it doesn't rub off, it's like very resistant. What I did here is I went and cut. Okay, so let me try to explain it, just in case I don't make it clear on my video. Okay, so what I did is I'm cutting the edge the spine off, but I'm going as close as I can to the actual spine and leaving a little bit of lip from the material of the book. So like the little I don't know, you guys will see right here how I leave some of that fabric that unites the spine and the covers, so that I'm able to fold that piece of material and in a sense finish off that edge, because otherwise I would have had to put some kind of fabric or paint it and do something so it makes it finished. In the last video I used a little fabric, and I didn't want that kind of aesthetic this time, so I left some of the lip of the little material that the cover. It's probably like the cover fabric. Fabric. So that I'm able to kind of fold it in and use it as a finished end, sort of, in a way. After I put the glue on, I fold the little lip, and I use my ruler because I want a straight edge and a clean edge. And sometimes when you do like paper or fabric with glue, it leaves the indentations of the clips, and I don't want that, and I also wanted it to be like an even press, so I use my ruler. I've decided I'm going to do another layer on top of my cover. In order for me to do that, I have to transfer the the cutouts from the cover, the hardcover, to this. And for me to do that in a way where I feel like it's going to be the cleanest, I'm going to tape it, trace it, then I'm going to come back and cut it out. That's the goal. But in reality, I don't do that. You have a plan, and sometimes they go out the window as soon as you plan them. So, what I do end up doing is marking a frame sort of inside the frame, so like to leave a little edge on the cutout part. I'm doing this because I want to be able to bring in the fabric. I was gonna say the material from the outside inside, so I can be able to wrap and you can not won't see that like cutout edges because you can't really see from here, but I kind of messed up on one of those sides and it looks kind of rough. So I wanted to bring in this the craft paper, the craft cover inside and wrap it in sort of like wrapping. I don't know how to describe it. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the one on the bottom. So I'm gonna but that one in the sense I'm just gonna cut a slit, cut from corner to corner. I'm gonna unite it and then fold the cuts in, so that I'm able to do a clean sort of wrap inside the frames. I thought about making the craft paper outside the top craft layer. I wanted to maybe see if I could make it look a little bit more like a wood kind of piece. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing some of my gel medium and I'm putting a little bit of brown with this thick brush. Now it has kind of like little bit hard pieces, not pieces, but like petals, not petals, like hairs on this brush. So I'm hoping that those hairs that are not this, like it's an old brush, so I'm hoping it leaves like some streaks and some like not so clean brush strokes, so it looks like the wood grain. And I think kind of works. So I keep my old brushes around for those kind of purposes, like to do textures and effects. And I've been wanting to do this. I saw it kind of happening before when I was painting something, and I noticed that it was like not a good brush anymore. But then I keep it around for that same purpose, for streaking and for texturing. In this case, I think it kind of looks all right. I made holes on the four corners of the book, and then I put fasteners, brass fasteners. I made this mold maybe about, I don't know, a few videos ago, and I so happened that I liked this screw thing part that I had, and I also casted it on my mold, and I just used some resin and I made a couple of them. And the little tube, I'm going to make it look like it's like I don't know what it would be called, but I seen them on the steampunk kind of thing. I decided to put some of this glue that I have here, the gel glue or acrylic glue, I don't know, this glue, sticky glue, and I mixed it up with blue, and I put it in there sort of like if it was a vial of like chemical waste or something. I don't know. For the big gauge, I'm gonna show you guys how I made. You can hand make your own gauges, because I looked online and nothing really like convinced me to for me to print or make, and I didn't want to like take my time and do one in Photoshop. So I wanted to give it my go ahead and try do one by hand. Now, believe me, it's not like anything real or anything, but I try to make it even Steven, and I it kind of like it's better than eyeballing it, because you guys will see later. I kind of finish like these parts, and then I go crazy and try to eyeball it, and it looks very wonky. And look at me, like it looks so bad. Like I should have just like stuck with it doing it, but I thought I was smart and slick and did it freehand, and of course it's not gonna work out, Diana. You know better, but you know, I don't know. Look at me. They're so funky. I should have stuck to my ruler. But yeah, you guys, I made things worse by adding handwritten numbers. Like I don't have 1,000,002 stamps of numbers, right? Anywho, here then I also went ahead and kind of aged it a little bit. Okay, so this is my fault. I wanted to distress it with my coffee water, but the marker, guess what? It wasn't like oil one or anything, so it would run with my coffee water. So I didn't do it. But I seen the gauges, and they have like their brand. So my brand is Curiosity Ink. So I did, and then I put one of those little Tim Holtz little arrows or watch thingies, and so watch hands, and I did that. And what I also did here is a couple of things. I grabbed some of the see, I'm forgetting everything. I'm gonna forget my name next. I grabbed some of those straws, and I painted them with that same black that I painted my cover. And it's I like using this with plastic because it's one of those primers that supposedly won't scratch off. And so I didn't want it to scratch off my plastic straw. So I knew I'm not a like clean person per se when I'm working on it. So I didn't want to be scratching it off as I was working on my project. So I'm uniting them sort of like if they were piping or tubing. And I'm just playing, at this point, I'm playing with length. There is no plan behind other than I know I want these here. And kind of like, I want to unite this with that. But as to my final project, I really don't know. So to unite two straws together, you have to cut it along the way, and then kind of tuck it in, like roll it in tighter so that it goes into the other straw. So um, it's seamless because you don't see the union of between the two straws. I mean, not just in the camera, but in like real life, like in front of yourself, you really can't see it. So I'm gonna paint it black, and then I'm gonna glue them together. I actually forget to glue these, but after that I'm gonna glue them onto my my book. So I'm gonna glue it in a couple ways. One, I'm gonna glue the tips to the cover itself, or to the parts, to my gauges. And then I'm also going to use these like kind of strips that I'm going to make them look like I don't know what they would be called, but I've seen them like they're like little attachers or fasteners that attach like the piping or lighting tubes or stuff on the walls. I've seen them on like little construction sites. So I'm going to use that, and it's aesthetic, but it's also going to be so that it holds my straw in place and strengthens that union. You know what I mean? Before I glue it down, I've decided to paint it gold. I've never seen piping gold, but that's what I'm going with. So don't judge me. Anyways, so I first started gluing my pipes with my regular sticky glue, or I don't know what. Anyways, my glue, my regular conventional glue. But there's a couple things. Two, it's plastic. It's like and I wanted it to be more of a rigid, what is it called? What's the word? Kind of bond. So I'm going to change my way of gluing things later. And this is one of my little like what is it, fasteners. Before I glue it, I also decide to paint it. And I attached I with my hole punch. As you, I don't know, you guys can see right there on the on my left side of the screen, you guys see a little piece of hole punched. Um, and so I grab those holes and I glue two of them together to make a little raised kind of sort of screw, and then I paint it with brown ink, and that's what I'm gonna use to attach to color my fasteners, and then I glue my fasteners on top of the straw so they can be stronger. You know what I mean? Okay, so my next step is, well, not my next step, but the next thing I did is I made a little coil, or I don't know, a thingamabob that goes inside my other thingamabob that's now blue. So I grabbed something that's kind of like roughly around the same size as my tube or cylinder, and I just coiled around it with this wire. I don't know the gauge of the wire. I just had it laying around. I buy things. I go to the farmer's market, or I mean not the farmer's market, but like the antique markets, or like just anywhere secondhand stores and stuff. And whenever I see like wire, I buy it because I always end up using it either in my craft stuff or when I'm building something, because I do other stuff outside of my desk. And so I always end up buying like things that I know I'll end up buying. Things like wire, I always end up using no matter what I do. So at the ends, I'm going to, as I professionally show you guys here, I bend the tip in the right in the middle of the coil, and then in the middle, I bring it out. So that the tip of the coil is sticking out right in the center of the coil, so it goes right through the tube. So it goes in the tube. It's gonna go in the tube, out the tube. I had already glued the tips or the ends of this tube um, prior to this, so I decided I wanted to put a coil inside. And so, yep, that's right. I took them off. They weren't cured yet right when I made that decision, so it was like, I don't know, less than 5 minutes right after I glued them that I made that choice to make a coil inside. So one side is open, and then the other one I just poked it. I also punched a hole in the center of this screw casting thing that I did. I did that on both ends, and then once I did that, I vented the tip up, but don't bend it like right at the nib of the screw. Um, Tip, bend it a little, give it a little, give the a space for the straw to kind of like go in there. So I've recently learned this technique where you use not crazy glue, well, yeah, it's crazy glue and baking soda. So the baking soda gives it a little girth, something to grab on the little crazy glue, because crazy glue tends to run, and it's liquidy and doesn't give you any body. Like it gives you union, but it doesn't give you body. So the other acrylic glue that I use gives you body, but it doesn't necessarily make it strong. It makes it a little flexible. It glues things on together, but it makes it flexible. This way, this technique of grabbing the crazy glue and using baking soda gives you both the unity of glue and the girth or strength of baking soda. So I've decided to use this here because as soon as I'm putting the glue in, closing the pipes, and so I noticed that it wasn't gluing things right, because in a sense the glue was still wet. It was encapsulated inside the the straw, so it wasn't drying. And so I was struggling with that. And so I remember the technique that I learned not too long ago, where you have to you can use this crazy glue method and baking soda. You might be able to use other things other than baking soda, but I like the idea of the baking soda because, first of all, I have a lot of it in the house. My husband makes slime with the kids, and they use baking soda. And also, I like that it gives you that rugged texture, and so I like using that. Anyways, I continue to pipe in a sense or use a straw to build kind of like the structure where things are connected and you know things are, I don't know, connected. But yeah, so I just building it as I go. I'm not I, as you guys remember, I put my first three points, or not focal points, that I wanted to focus on, and then what I did is, for me, visually in my head, I knew I wanted to connect them all together, and so I left a little bit of gaps here and there, knowing that the straw was going to pass through there or fill in that gap. And so pretty much I'm filling in the gaps with the straw. So, I'm making bends and joints. And for me, that was just it. And whenever I saw there was a gap bigger than what I wanted to, um, that's where I decided to put the fasteners on there. Okay. I have now painted and glued on my pipes. They were painted. As you guys can see, I painted them gold, and then I put my fasteners where I feel it required the strength, and also had an empty spot. And after that, I grabbed some of my um, black brown paint, and I put gesso on it. I didn't put baking powder. It looks like I still do put the baking powder, but I put gesso and glue. It's a mixture of glue, just regular school glue, and Elmer's glue, and um, the brown. It's a brown paint. I think I put a little bit of black because I know that the gesso light it tends to lighten up the brown. So I did put a little bit of black, just like a drop, so it keeps on having that brown, the dark brown of the rust. So in a sense, what I'm doing here is rusting where pipes would drip, or the condensation would gather, and it would begin to rust and stuff like that. So pretty much that's all I'm doing. I'm putting rust where I think it is. And I noticed that here I forgot to glue the pipe, uh, and this little blue container thing to the actual book. So it's glued directly onto the pipe, and then the pipe has a little bit of wire running, that's from the coil running onto the pipe, but in reality it's not glued onto the book at all. So what I did is I put my regular acrylic glue, and then I did that technique where I put some of that baking soda on there. And I wanted it to do that because as I was doing the rust technique, I was adding rust. I feel like if I was gonna do glue, I didn't want to be too neat on it, so that it, kind of like where you want to be neat, and you're not in an effort not to show where the glue is. I wanted to accentuate, and in the same sense, I wanted to straighten that union by making the glue look like it's part of that rust. And so once it's kind of glued, kind of dried, because this technique makes the things dry really quick when you put the baking soda. I don't know if the baking soda accelerates the drying process, but it does dry up pretty quick. So I keep on adding the rust where I think, for the most part, where I think it looks cool. But I also envision in my head where rust gathers and rust builds up and drips from, kind of. Once I've done all my base and base texture and base color, I go back with my accenting colors, which is orange and like a mustardy yellow. It doesn't necessarily have to be any tone per se, and actually it doesn't even have to be these colors. It can be, I've used blue before, and I've used like that aqua green blue thing. And so I've used any color that inspires you to feel like there's texture there. And So yeah, I go back with the orange and I put some on the pipes. I rub it out, rub it in. And this orange looks pretty bright, pretty neon. But once it dries, it kind of turns into this like reddish kind of tone. And unfortunately, you're gonna miss my favorite part of the whole project. As you guys know, I look forward to the painting so much because that's my favorite part. But my camera died before I could tell, and yes, I spent all kinds of time explaining to you how I do my rusting technique, and it didn't record it. Anyways, so for the inside, I want to do this kind of like invisible spine. It's not invisible, it's not a spine, but I just wanted to be so that it looks there's just papers floating or folded inside between the two covers. And so what I'm going to do is grabbing these two strips of that craft paper, craft text that doesn't rip, and I'm marking it where they're gonna go. And I think the pictures pretty much will explain for themselves. Here I'm marking it where I'm gonna put them on the front part. I'm gonna cut it out because they're gonna go like in between the front cover, and these are the covers, the inner covers of the front and the back cover. Do you guys know what I mean? So because the texture of this material is so smooth, what I do is I cross hatch it so that the glue has something to grab onto, like a bite. If you don't do this step, you're gonna have separation no matter what glue you use. The sleekness of this this material is just really smooth, and so you don't want to take that risk. So I really suggest you doing that cross hatching, especially all the way around where your glue is gonna go. And so here you go. I'm gonna glue that inner cover. Yeah, see how professional I sound when I say the right word? The inner cover of my cover. Yeah, the inner cover of my cover. And so I'm gonna glue it, and I'm gonna cover this whole mess. But I don't, because it has all this parts to it, I want to make sure that it glues on properly. So that's why I want to make sure that you guys understand how important it is to cross hatch it on all the soft surfaces that you guys see. When you guys are using this kind of like soft or like sleek surfaces, make sure you guys cross hatch it so that you guys have a nice strong bond between your two materials. I'm going to repurpose the book, some of the pages of the book where I got the covers from, just because they're the same size and I think it works. It's like an encyclopedia, and I got the letter W. So they're all wineries, and then it goes to the yellow, and then Yellowstone, and X-rays and woodworking. It goes from like the W to the X, I think it does, and Z. I'm not sure, but oh yeah, because it goes to zoology. Anywho, I got distracted, and I marked where my strips are gonna pass through on the paper because I have it marked on the back cover. So it's easy for me just to cut it off. And here it's easy for me to cut out a bunch of the papers just because it's on the book and it's like not shifting on me, and I'm able to cut like, I don't know, 10 pages. It works out. Okay, in this shot you're able to see more of what I mean by invisible spine or binding. Those two strips that you guys see there will go through the two slit slots of the paper that I cut out. And I've only attached them secure them on the front, because on the back I want to Velcro, well, that's what I thought. When you guys were seeing this, I was gonna Velcro it, but this is what I decided to do, because I was noticing that when you open it and close it, that strip, those two strips wanted to shift, or felt like they should be shifting in and out, so that, because if I left it in a certain way, like then it would kind of like stick out. It looked all clumsy with the Velcro. So what I decided to do is make a spine thing that allows it to kind of move in and move out when you open and close the book. So this is kind of like a opening and closing latch that allows the back end of the strips to move. I have made a sturdy window for those strips so that it doesn't break or rip when I glued it when I'm using it. And I'm attaching that brass fastener to the back cover. So as you guys can see how it wants to shift, and so as you close it, it wants to shift in, it wants to push the papers in. So now it looks like there's no spine and there's no binding, and that's kind of what I was going for. I wanted to have more paper so it looks fat, like a fat piece like book that is just holding on to a lot of papers. But at the end of the day, that would have taken me more time and this video would be longer. I just put a bunch of paper that I had like laying around on my desk, and I made it so that you guys can kind of get the idea what binding I was kind of going for. As you guys could tell, it's really awesome. It's really fun. It you know, it's different. I mean, I don't know if it's done before. I'm sure it might have been. You guys are a lot of creative people out there, and so I like this book because it has that thing in the back, and I left it there in case somebody wants to use it. And as always, you gotta sign your art. You gotta talk to the artists out there. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. Until next time, stay safe. Bye.